Hi there, and welcome to Draw With Me. I'm Danny Gregory, and I am looking forward to spending the next few minutes, I don't know, we'll see how many minutes it is, drawing something, having fun, enjoying ourselves. So today's topic, we always pick a topic that we draw, and today's topic is, what is it? It's not coming up. Today's topic is, show me, here we go, first snafu of the day. Well, the first topic is subscribing, but we'll get back to that. But today's topic is drawing a selfie. So we're going to draw a self-portrait. If you've never done that before, don't panic. You don't need to worry about what you look like or how you draw. And if you really hate drawing yourself, draw me. Okay, so you're going to need a pen paper. I recommend some kind of a drawing pen and some kind of decent paper, but it really doesn't matter. You could draw with a free pen you picked up at the bank and some, I don't know, a legal pad. It doesn't really matter. And also get some way to look at yourself. So it might be a mirror, it might be a camera on your phone, it might be a photo that you have of yourself, just something that will show you what you look like today. And that's about it. So that is the key materials that you need. Pretty simple, and it'll be a lot of fun, I promise you. Last week, we had a lot of fun doing watercolors of autumn leaves, and people did incredible stuff, and I just wanted to share some of those things with you, and then we'll come back and we'll chat some more. But while you're waiting, make sure you subscribe, give a thumbs up to this show so that more people will see it, more people will draw, and of course that will make the world a better place. Imagine if everybody was drawing every day, how cool that would be. Amazing stuff, don't you think? Just so beautiful. It's an interesting topic, autumn leaves, but I think you guys took it to all kinds of new and different places. And just the color, I feel like we're all in a color mode. Today we're not going to be doing color, or at least I'm not. Let me just say something about this assignment of drawing yourself. On Draw With Me, there are no rules. It may seem that I'm setting some down and telling you exactly what to do. I'm not. You can draw anything. Draw your dog, draw your hand, draw, I don't know, Brad Pitt, draw with watercolors, draw with magic markers, crayons. It doesn't really matter. Just draw. That's the main thing. So we saw lots of great stuff. And I wanted to also welcome people from all over. We have Heidi, who's coming from the Gulf Islands in British Columbia. Garrett, who's coming from the state of Denial, and Jennifer in Maryland. So yes, very nice to see you all. Nice to see Jen Gonzalez is joining us live for the first time from the Philippines. And Paolo, who doesn't need to tell us that he's Italian, but clearly is. So yes, and Elro, you joined us. I'm not sure from where, but I'm glad to see you. And it's great to know that as we're sitting here drawing, there are just hundreds of other people sitting here and drawing with us. That kind of support and encouragement is just so nice to have. And it's just great to be in a community of artists, right? A lot of times we draw by ourselves, or we feel lonely doing it. But here's an opportunity to hang out with our friends and to draw together. And that's the fun thing that we do every week. Here's Rosie from Germany, and Esther from Switzerland. Trevor coming in. Where is Trevor? He's coming in from Ireland. Elisa coming in from Mexico, and Christine in England. Well, welcome all of you. Let's start getting ready. So hopefully you've managed to kind of gather your art supplies. And as you're doing it, you might be thinking, what kind of a pen should I use? You might be thinking, do I really have to use a pen? You don't. Use a pencil if you want. Use, I don't know, eyeliner, use a finger dipped in ketchup. Do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. But if you like great pens, you'll be interested to hear about Edding, which is today's sponsor. And I have totally fallen in love with Edding pens, and specifically the ones that we're going to talk about today, which are these ones, the 1880 fine liners. So you may have used a technical pen in the past. There's a bunch of manufacturers that make them. Certainly I have. I've been using them for decades, trying to figure out what is the best one, what's the one that I will stick to. I have to say these are the ones for me. And I'll tell you, there's a number of reasons. First of all, they are permanent black ink, which is great because it means you can watercolor over them and you don't have to worry about the lines running. They also come in lots of different sizes. Now, a lot of times you might get a technical pen that has small, medium, large, or extra fine and medium, those kinds of things. Good technical pens will tell you a numerical setting for how large the tip is. And they generally go from 0.5 up until 1, or 0.05 up until 0.1. And sometimes they might go a little bit higher. What I like about these 1880s is they have so many great increments in between. There's the 1, there's the 01, the 02, the 03, the 05, the 04, 05, 03, 04, 05, 07, 08. Just lots of gradations. And that kind of thing is great if you love doing cross-hatching, you love doing kind of fine detail, but then sometimes you want to be more expressive. I also love a pen that has a good nib on it and that draws smoothly and easily and can kind of hold up to, whatever pressure I put on it. And finally, this is a small thing, but it really means a lot to me, which is here's a bunch of these pens. And as you can see, they have big numbers on the top, which is great, particularly you don't have to necessarily put your glasses on. And you can grab it and you can see what number it is. And also on the side, similarly, let me actually switch to my other point of view here. Here you can see it has just a big number on it. That just makes it easier when you grab it. I keep all of mine right here in my trusty jar. But it is, I don't know, I love these pens. And I think you'll love them too. And that's why we're giving some away. Right, we are giving away, I think, is it 4 sets, JJ? We're giving away 4 sets. And if you would like to get a set of these markers, write to us and tell us that you would. You can write to us at info@sketchbookskool.com and just tell us, or actually you can write to us at Draw With Me, right? Isn't it Draw With Me? You can write to us at either one. For today, you can write to us at info@sketchbookskool.com and give us your mailing address. Make sure that you have a U.S. mailing address. We're sponsored by Edding USA. And make sure that you tell us a bit about why you would like these pens, what interests you about them. We love to know why you'd like them, and that helps us to, we're giving away, 3 sets of 4. So this is a set of 4 pens, 3 sets. And hopefully you will be one of the people who gets them. You can also write to us at our post office box and just, tell us fun stuff or send us, your favorite anything. We'd love to hear from you and we love to know what's going on with you. All right, good. Let's get into doing some drawing now and let's enjoy this experience. So tell me what you're anxious about in the comments. I'd like to know if there's anything that's holding you up from doing this. And we can discuss it as we go. So here we go. So first thing I did is I decided that I would work from my phone, from pictures that I take of myself on my phone. I do so many selfies. And in fact, this month is what is called selfie-tember. It's a new thing. I'd never heard of it before. Selfie-tember. Now, here it is, September 28th. We are at the end of selfie-tember, just about. So but better late than never. So I think the idea is try and draw yourself every day. Polenta Pot says he can't draw people, including myself. You know how you learn how to draw people? You draw people. And that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully you're a person, not just a polenta pot, and you are willing to take a risk and try drawing yourself. So yes, we're celebrating selfie-tember, even though we're coming in late, coming at the end of it. So don't worry about what you look like. Here's the thing about drawing a self-portrait, and one of the reasons that I draw as many as I do. It's a record of who you are right now. With your bed hair, you can see I have bed hair, with whatever onslaught life has put onto your face, record it. It's just for you. Nobody else has to see it. And love thyself. That is the message here. So, all right, so let's go back here looking at, so what I did is, let me just pull up my pictures. So what I did is I took a bunch of pictures of myself, as one will. It's a good reason to take selfies. People take selfies. I don't know. I'm always sort of surprised how people take selfies all the time. But here's a picture of me that I took a few minutes ago. And so I just decided that I would, because I'm using it from a photo, I thought, well, I'm going to not look right at the camera, because otherwise I could just use a mirror and see myself directly. I wanted to see myself from a slightly different angle. So I took a bunch of different pictures to experiment and see, how I felt. And as I was doing it, I'll show you I took a couple of experiments. I thought, like, what does it look like from a different angle? And then I realized, what? I want to have a bit more extreme light. I wanted to have some value. So you see here, I've kind of moved myself so I'm lit on one side of my face and darker on the other, just in the interest of contrast and some kind of dimensionality. So then I kind of got into taking some pictures where you could just see, okay, there's a dark side of my face and a light side of my face, and different angles. And then I realized I want to have a little dot of light in my eyes, a little highlight there. So like when I did that one, the highlight was on the white of my eye. And then I figured this out, and I said, okay, so now I've got all this figured out. You don't need to do any of this. This is just me being, it's me procrastinating probably as much as anything, and saying like, oh, let me take the perfect picture before I can do a drawing. You don't have to go through this madness, but I'm going to take this picture and I'm going to say, all right, this is good. So, if I don't know, there's other stuff you could do to this. And again, you don't need to, but I'll just show you what you could do. So you could say, I want to maybe increase the contrast and increase the shadows. I want to have a bit more contrast in it. Just, because again, this is not about having a great picture. It's about having a good piece of reference. I go, okay, that looks pretty good. So, but, be like Edza and just grab the shaving mirror from the bathroom. Honestly, I would do that normally too. It doesn't quite work when I'm doing this draw with me today. So yes, that is the idea. People are wondering whether pens and markers should be stored on their side. Here's the thing. Don't worry about how you store them, because you should use them. I store mine lying down or standing up. If they're standing up, sometimes the ink will drain away from the tip, but if you turn it over, it should get moving. Just don't let your pens dry up. If they dry up, it means you're not using them enough. Draw more, get more pens, use more pens, wear them out, drain them, empty those pens out. That's all cool. So, all right, so I've got all these different ones, and I'm thinking I want to try and use a range of different sizes just for the fun of it. But I'm going to start with an 03, and I also find that it helps to remember the angle that you're looking at. So if you lay a picture down on the ground like this, you lay it flat, and then you have your book is also flat, you're going to get a little bit of perspective in it. So if your mirror is up facing you and your drawing is down, you might get a little tiny bit of distortion. So just be a bit aware of that. Just make sure that that you compensate for that if you need to, or accept that it's not all going to be perfect. It might be a little bit weird because of the angle. You getting what I'm saying? There's a bit of foreshortening just because it's lying down. All right, so I like to usually start on the side of my head, on the left side, just because I'm right-handed, so it's easier, more natural for me to start over there. I don't know if you wear glasses, but I find that glasses have been actually kind of helpful to me because they are sort of a framing device. They kind of break up my face into sections, and they put a little bit of a frame around the eyes, and the eyes are, of course, a really important part of a portrait. Now here, I'm already looking at this, and I'm thinking, I'm kind of making my forehead a little bit small. So I'm going to worry about that later, but if I look at it, if I measure with my pen, right, that, and I go, okay, so from the bridge of my glasses to the top of my head is the same as from the bridge of my glasses to my mouth. And then there's a little bit left. So just want to kind of bear that in mind, that when I do this, that my mouth is probably going to be around here. Something like that. Yeah. So, all right, good. How are you guys doing? Are you starting out your journey? Let's take our time. That's our time. A lot of times I'll do a drawing and I'll just like zip around really quickly. But today I'm going to take my time. Oh, here's another measurement I might want to take. That this space from my bridge of my nose to the top of my head, how does it compare with the width of my face? So it sort of goes from my glasses, this distance is sort of the same as from this edge of my glasses to the beginning of this other side of my glasses. So you see how having these glasses helps me to have just a general kind of a frame. Again, I don't want to get too crazy with these measurements because, we're not doing an engineering drawing, but I don't know. The reason, here's why you do these kinds of things is just if you panic. You start saying, oh my God, what have I done? I'm completely out of proportion. Well, then you can say, you know what? I've done a few measurements. It looks okay. It looks okay. I have a little bit of my long flowing locks. You can sort of see from up here. Put a few of them over there. And yeah, so that's more or less it. And then when I come over here, I'm jumping around, admittedly. I jump around as I see something that's interesting. But a lot of times I try and stay attached to something I've already drawn. Like you could draw the whole head, and you could draw one eye, and you could draw the mouth over here. I find that it's helpful to me to be connected between one thing that I have established and then the next thing. So I'm again, always, I want to maintain my confidence about what I'm doing. There'll come times in the drawing where you go, oh no, what have I done? Like I just did. Like what? Look at it. Look at the shape of these two glasses. They're totally different. This one is sort of roundish, and then suddenly this one became sort of rectangular. It's okay. I can just correct it, or I can just live with it and go, you know what? It's not going to be, I already have a picture. I already have a photo of me. I don't need to make a new photo. I can just kind of figure it out. So it's all right. If it's a bit wonky, I'm a bit wonky too. And such is life. So then I look at these eyebrows here. They're kind of over there. I'm going to come back. I'm going to add more and more detail as I go. And I don't have to get it all down right now. I'm also, at this point, not really thinking about shading and contrast and those sorts of things. Hey, let's take another measurement. Let's just have a look at the length of my nose, which is about the middle of my pen cap. And, I just want to sort of make sure that my nose is reasonably in proportion. I also want to look at things like, here's the edge of my nostrils. What does it line up with? It lines up with this point in my eye. So I want to kind of just have a bit of awareness of those sorts of things. Have a bit of awareness. I don't know about you, but there's definitely times when I'm doing this where I think, oh no, I just made an error. Now what? And then I carry on. That's all you can do. You could rip it out of the book, you could throw it away, or you could say, you know what, I made a mistake. Let me see if I can correct it, or let me see if I can live with it. That's all just part of the process. Is to live with imperfection, because we are imperfect, but that's one of the most beautiful things about us. They say that the most beautiful people have symmetrical faces. And, that may be true if you're selling Revlon, but I think if you want to have an interesting face, having a perfect symmetrical face is not necessarily the ideal. I think having a face that carries the experiences of your life with you, that shows that you have been through stuff, those are the most interesting sorts of faces to me, at least. Now, when you're doing eyes, just remind yourself that an eye is basically a big wet ball with flaps of skin around it, and that skin has a thickness. Your eyelids has a thickness, and then it has, it swivels inside. So right here, you can see the blood vessels right there. And I'm going to switch to a narrower point pen. Why not? I have an 05 here. I'm going to switch to that. And I'm just going to put in a bit more detail here. Again, I'm going to come back to all this, and I'm going to do more. But I'm already looking at this picture, and I'm thinking, you know what? I've already made my forehead too small. It's a suspicion that I had from the beginning that I had misjudged that. And a lot of times we do that because our foreheads are not that interesting. They don't have a lot of features on them. So mine has a few lines to it because I haven't gone and refreshed my Botox for a while. And yeah, so you can see my forehead should probably be another ½ an inch taller, but it isn't. And that's okay too. So, all right, so now I am going to use this finer pen to just add in some more lines. Again, I'm going to come back and I'm going to definitely add some tone and value to this whole thing to make it more dimensional. And I'm going to switch back to the original nib that I was using, which is an 03. I'm going to put in this, I forget what the name of that thing is, that little trough that you have between your nose and your mouth. I forget what that's called. I want to say plinth, but it definitely is not called a plinth. That's something else. But yeah, so then this is a strange drawing of me. I think it's strange because I'm smiling. So often when I do a self-portrait, I am, I have just a flat affect. I don't have any expression because I'm just concentrating. And that's very different. We tend to see ourselves in photographs. And when we are in photographs, we are, we're usually mugging for the camera in some way. All right, so now I'm going to look at the length of my chin. I think I have kind of a longish chin, sort of a family trait. So today I'm sort of endeavoring to be reasonably accurate. A lot of times when I do a self-portrait, I'm not at all trying to be accurate. I'm trying to be expressive, which is sometimes an excuse for being inaccurate. Oh, I didn't mean for it to look just like me. What I really intended was to capture, my existential angst. But no, in this case, I'm sort of trying to and I can already tell that I can feel the voice inside me arguing with myself, saying, you know what, this does not look like you. And but maybe it looks like the inner me, the inner sort of grinning me, the buffoon within. All right, so I've drawn sort of a basic outline. And also I realize now that because I started to get anxious as I was drawing these lines, I started to make my face kind of more square than it is. It does come in a bit more there. So we'll compensate for this. We'll compensate for this with the miracle of cross-hatching and tone. We'll see if that makes a difference. If it doesn't, you will get your money back. Just go to the box office and ask them for a refund. So now I'm just sort of drawing in where that highlight is. Highlight is an important part of drawing a face. It's a little tiny dot of light that shows that you're alive. Shows that, well, at the very least, it shows that your eyeballs are lubricated, which is a good sign of life. I think when you're not alive, your eyes dry up. So if you ever notice your eyes are really, really dry, take a pulse reading just to make sure that you're still alive. That's not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. But, it's always good. It's good to take your pulse at least every hour. That's what I do. Again, I'm not a doctor. Don't do what I say. Particularly when I make stuff up and don't actually do it either. So now I'm taking this 05. I think I want to switch to, I'll stick with the 05 for now. So the 05 is very, very narrow. When you have a fine point pen like this, you certainly don't want to press hard on it because it is a bit delicate. I find that these edding pens, they last a good long time, which is also an important thing when you're doing, when you're investing in a pen. You want it to hang around. Try and, if you are going to do cross-hatching, or if you're going to do hatching, let me just explain. There's two things. There's hatching and there's cross-hatching. Hatching is just lines. Cross-hatching are lines that cross each other, hence the name. But try and keep your lines reasonably consistent as they cross each other. Keep them a reasonable equal distance from each other, equal length. You don't need to use a ruler, but because in the end, hatching is not natural. It's not a real thing that's there. So by keeping them consistent, you're acknowledging their artificiality, right? You're acknowledging that, these are not actual lines that are on my face. I don't have some kind of elaborate tattoo. Although that would be interesting to get a tattoo of cross-hatching. But that's really not on the plan for today. So I see that my chin is sort of standing out from the shadow on the side of my face. So I kind of want to reflect that. Yeah, but now I'm going to switch back out to my heavier line. I'm doing it at a diagonal. And I want to avoid looking like I'm unshaven. So that's another thing to think about, particularly for you who don't have beards. Try to avoid looking like it's 5 o'clock and it's time for a quick touch-up. So yeah, I've also made my eyes too big. So that's another thing to think about. I guess the question becomes, ultimately, is it accurate or does it look like you? And those two things are not necessarily the same, right? You could do something that is not particularly accurate, but it's still obviously you. And I think ultimately that's our goal, is not accuracy. This isn't the DMV where we're trying to sort of, perfectly create an ID photo. We are still trying to make something that is art or artistic, let's say. And what does that mean? It means that it is in some way reflecting meaning and feeling, so that we're capturing who we are and how we feel, not just how we look. So this is now cross-hatching. You can see I have lines going in 3 or 4 different directions. And yeah, my eyes, I could just color my eyes in black, but my eyes aren't really black. And by having a range of different values inside the eye, it just makes me look a little bit more human and less like a beagle. Definitely you want to avoid that beagle look. Nobody likes a beagle. I know some of you like beagles. Charles Schultz liked Snoopy. I'm generally suspicious of the beagle. But I probably shouldn't be bringing that up. I'm sure JJ is moaning wherever she is and saying, oh, why is he attacking beagles now? Don't you realize that beagle lovers are an important demographic? I don't know. Well, I recognize that this is a drawing of me, because honestly, why else would I draw this person? Unless it was me. But see, I'm making a lot of excuses, and maybe you're in that mode too. You're like, well, I don't know, maybe if I put some watercolor on it, it'll be okay. That's perfectly understandable. You're allowed to go there. It's tough because when you're drawing a self-portrait, you're also wrestling with who you are, right? And how you look. And it's difficult to really see yourself, because we don't see ourselves that often. Other people, particularly the people who we live with, they see us all the time and they know exactly what we look like. But how often do you really study what you look like? How often do you really look at yourself? You might look at yourself in the bathroom mirror quickly, but you're probably not looking at your overall face. You're probably looking at like that zit on your forehead or the green thing in your teeth or yet another wrinkle that's popped up. You're not necessarily looking at your overall head and face. And you're also probably trying to avoid the whole thing, get it done. And if you put on makeup, for instance, then you're focusing on that task of putting on the makeup, as opposed to really studying yourself and your face. It's also another thing about drawing faces, and one of the reasons why it is pretty challenging is because the slightest disproportion suddenly makes the person not look like themselves anymore. So you make the bridge of the nose ever so slightly too narrow or too wide, and it just becomes a different person. And that's a little bit of the problem with my drawing here of myself today, is sort of looks like my half brother. I don't have a half brother, but if I did, you know, he's not my twin, my identical twin. He's that guy who, you know, my parents like us a bit more than they like me. The guy who did a bit better in school. The guy who makes a little bit more money than I do. Who has some stupid friends who I think are idiots. His children are slightly annoying. So, yeah. That's that guy. I'm going to take a break and have some coffee. Let's see. Sandy Bank has done 28 selfies. Wow. In the time that we've been working on this, you've managed to knock out 28 of them? What kind of a pen are you using? Jeez. And you're also commenting and chatting on YouTube at the same time. That's extraordinary. That is extraordinary. Good on you, Sandy. Laura says, I always make the eyes too big. It's understandable because they're interesting. The eyes are interesting. The forehead, as I said, not interesting. The cheeks, meh, not so much. But the eyes, they are the gateway to the soul. JJ has come in saying that she loves beagles. Don't pander to the beagle sector. What is it called? The beagle demographic. I do love all dogs. And I am stirring the pot. I apologize to all beagle owners. Kind of. All right. Colleen says, I sometimes see myself in the mirror and I think, who is this Danny? Sometimes I see a person looking at me. I look at myself in the mirror and say, who is this Danny also? Who is it? And why isn't it more of a Colleen? I don't know. So yes, Margaret is now inspired to do a selfie. I hope you are too. I'm looking at this picture again from after a minute or two away from it, and I'm starting to see that I completely neglected this side of the thing. So I'm going to just draw some very faint lines here. There's a lot of light coming from this side and not much light coming from that side. So that is making a difference. But another thing is that this iris is slightly rounder. Slightly rounder. The tiniest little change in the anatomy of the eye can really change the expression. You know, I always think about, I remember going to a football game of all things once, and I noticed that there were like 20,000 people in the stadium, but I looked at somebody on the other side of the stadium and I could tell that they had just looked at me. I thought, how is that possible? Think of how slight the change in the angle of their eyeball would have to be for me to know they were looking at me. Who knows? Maybe they weren't looking at me. But it seemed clear. It seemed to me that they were. And I think that might be in part because we're predators and we just notice these little tiny movements. We're very attuned to that. That could be what it is. So we have these little tiny things. So that's why I would say take more time. And generally, if you're going to do an accurate self-portrait, don't do it on YouTube in front of hundreds of people. Do it in the intimacy and privacy of your own room by yourself. So, yes. Hey, that's a fresh excuse that I've just come up with for my inadequacies. Is that right? All right, well, I think that's pretty good. Lisa says I need to work on my cross-hatching as my portrait looks like the bearded lady. Either that or I would get a depilatory, maybe some waxing. See if that would help. Wendy says if I paint this green, I look like young Frankenstein. Yes. Linda says, I like the way you did cross-hatch neck shadows. We'll do that next time. Cool. Cartoonist style. I guess cartoonist. I'm not sure what that means exactly. I mean, cross-hatching, it's true that in cartoons they use cross-hatching, but I have a very cartoony neck. People have often said that. And, you know, I don't mind. I don't take it personally. It is one of my outstanding features. People come up to me in the street and they say, oh. Martina says, is it cheating to trace the basic shape of the head from your selfie? Yes, you will be called up in front of the drawing disciplinary board if you do that. Maybe I should have done that too, because I've noticed now that the shape of my head is kind of an upside down egg. If you look at the picture, it's wider here, gets a bit narrower, it's kind of rectangular. Whereas the one that I've drawn, so looks more like an egg. This looks a bit more like a potato. People have also called me potato head. That might be, in fact, that's, yes, so. Yes, I'm just reading some other stuff. People talking about putting their faces on copiers. Is that interesting? I remember doing that. I remember there were days when you were like really, I just remember like having a job and going and like, you never like put your naked butt on the copier, but you certainly would press your face against it and see like, and you'd have interesting pictures. Yeah, you could do something like that. So yeah, there's that. So Lisa is kind enough to say that she loves my cross-hatching skills. You know, I think cross-hatching, our friend Robert Crumb isn't here today, but Robert Crumb in his in this really amazing movie, which I'm hoping you have seen, called Crumb, he talks about how much he loves cross-hatching and how cross-hatching for him is the whole reason to draw. The drawing is just an excuse to do cross-hatching because it is so meditative and it is so, I don't know, it's just repetitive and it is really nice. It is a nice thing to just do. You kind of lose yourself into it, get into the flow state, and just keep drawing lines and also building it up. It definitely starts to build up, so you get dark areas because you don't want to like scratch in the darkness. But if you just keep layering it slowly but surely, it will become black, but a black made up of tiny details. And so many, I mean, I just love a good cross-hatching drawing when you look at it and you go, boy, that took that person hours and I can see the work. That's a really nice thing about it. You know, I think we appreciate the craft of somebody spending a lot of time drawing. My friend France Van Stone, if you want to really see somebody who's amazing at it, look at her. We've done a few classes with her, and she teaches in our Spark program every week, and she does these incredible portraits with cross-hatching. And yeah, it is a really fun thing to do. And you know, it's partly about thinking about the direction of where the light's coming from, and also getting a sense of the tones. You know, what's really dark, what's kind of dark, what's medium, what's a little bit light, what's very light, you know, and doing those kinds of things helps you to do that. Sandy asks, isn't the portrait on the $20 bill a cross-hatch? Yeah, in fact, that's what engraving is. Engraving is basically hatching and cross-hatching. And you can also, hatching doesn't have to just look like straight lines. You can do hatching that's made up of little circles. And you can do what's called stippling, like where you can just make stuff out of dots. So there's all kinds of things that are going on. Yes, Alyssa says, I play around, sometimes to my detriment, with hatching, cross-hatching, scribbling, stippling, especially when I'm trying to figure out the light levels. Yeah, that's the way you do it, is you come up with your own particular language for what are the ways that you represent tone. You know, and again, you want to be careful, because if you do too much stippling and it isn't consistent, it'll just look like you have smallpox. which maybe you do, and that's a nice thing to capture in your drawing, but maybe you don't want to give yourself smallpox if you don't have to. It is not a pleasant thing. All right, I think we're done. I mean, I can belabor this. And Haley ruined hers. Ruined. Did you ruin it or did you learn something? That's the question. Mistakes are lessons, right? So don't worry about that. And yes, Sandy asked about the stippling. Hey, you'll be glad to know that the leaf blowers are here. Yep, we haven't had them in a while. Oh, I also want to say my friend Henry is here. Henry, let me just go wide. Henry, here is Henry. Henry is making a little documentary about I don't know, what are you making a documentary about exactly?
About your life.
About me and my life.
And your work.
And my work. So yes, so he's drawing. He's not drawing. He's filming me, and he has been here for the last few days doing that. And he's come from New York, and he's come from Australia, and he's come from Malaysia, just to film me. So thanks for doing that. I wish I had done better by you today. Apps wants to know what microphone I'm using. Really? It's not called Sing With Me. I use a bunch of microphones. We'll get into that some other time. We'll do a whole behind the scenes thing. All right. So we are again with this. Let me just get rid of this and this. So I also, you know what I'd also like to know from you? So today we did something a little bit different structurally, which is we talked about what we're going to draw before we drew it, right at the very beginning, so you could get ready. And then we looked at last week's work. And then we went on to do other stuff. Let me know if you think that works. I think it's good to like kind of get in and get you kind of prepared before we do other stuff. It also means you have to show up on time. That's another thing we're doing. So we're no longer having like a few minutes of, doodly stuff on screen. I'm here, we're going, we're jumping into it. So let me know what you think. And if you hate it, I'll be extremely upset because I love it. I don't know. Kate likes it. She likes the structure today. I'm glad to hear it. Annie likes it. Good. And Jennifer says it does work to give me a heads up, but also gives me a bit of stage fright. Well, would you like to join me here on camera? Maybe we'll do that next time, Jennifer. Don't worry. Corinne likes having some prep time. All right, so generally, I'm getting the feeling that Sandy likes it, and that Peachy Rose likes it, and Adrian likes it. All right. And Martinez says, now I got to be on time. Why, Dad? I'm sorry, but I'm not your dad. All right. And if you showed up late, you know what? We're recording this. It'll be on YouTube, and you can go back and watch the beginning, okay? But don't show up late. Angela, I always arrive 15 minutes late because I teach class. Either way works. Okay. Well, good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. I want to see your self-portraits. I really want to see your self-portraits, even with bad hair, even with, I don't know, things hanging out of your nose and stuff in your teeth. I want to see it all. And so therefore, I beg of you to share it on social media. Put it out there and tag it, hashtag SBS Draw With Me, so we can find it. Next week, we will look at all of these drawings together, and we will see how beautiful you are and how beautifully you draw. Again, I want to remind you, if you would like to get a set of these edding 1880s, and I don't know why you wouldn't. They're awesome. I hope I've done them proud today. But if you'd like to get a set, make sure you write to us. I said earlier, info@, that will work, or drawwithme@sketchbookschool.com. DWM, drawwithme@sketchbookschool.com. And make sure you give us your U.S. mailing address so we can send them to the right place. If you don't give us a mailing address, we can't, attach them to an email. We can only physically mail them to you. Danny'sEssays.com. I write an essay every Friday, and I have for years. Every Friday. If I write it, please come and read it. And the way you get it is by signing up at Danny'sEssays.com. It's absolutely free, and it's absolutely worth it. You're going to get your money's worth out of Danny'sEssays.com. And I write about stuff about the creative process, how to be more confident in what you're doing, how to overcome the things that get in your way, how to enjoy yourself, and thinking about art in all the different ways, and about life. I write about all kinds of stuff. And I have to finish up my essay today because I'm sending it out tomorrow. So please come and sign up for that. And please subscribe to this channel. It's pathetic that people on YouTube have to say that every time. Just subscribe to it. You know why? Because otherwise, you won't be reminded that you should draw with me again next week. And I hope that you will. So yes, I will see you then. And we'll have some fun again. All right. Have a great week. Thanks for drawing with me. Bye-bye.